Just say the name Miyoko's Creamery to any vegan, and they are immediately transported to the vegan cheese section of their local grocery store. From Miyoko's humble beginnings, no one could have predicted the massive success her vegan creamery business would become. She was raised by her single mother in a small village outside of Tokyo, Japan. Being a single mother anywhere in the 1960s was rare, even more so in Japan. Miyoko's mother ran a stuffed animal business in their home, complete with employees bustling about the living room. And that home was surrounded by rice paddies that the local community farmed. Every morning started the same, a quick trip to the bathroom before a local farmer picked up the raw sewage for fertilizer. The village had exactly one car, and it did not belong to Miyoko's family. Those were simpler times. In 1964, Miyoko's parents decided to reunite, so her mom packed the family up and moved to Mill Valley, California, where Miyoko's father was living. Together, the parents started a novelty business and worked hard to make it successful. Miyoko was just 7 years old when she arrived in California and spoke no English. The simple life she had known in Japan gave way to harsh realities in her new homeland. To give an idea of what the times were like in the U.S., the Civil Rights Act of 1964 had just passed, making it illegal to discriminate on the basis of race, color, sex, religion, or national origin. This post-World War II time period was filled with racism, bullying, ignorance, and anger from complete strangers who blamed Miyoko for bombing Pearl Harbor. She remembers going home and asking, "What's Pearl Harbor?" Because remember, she was only 7. At the time, all Asians were lumped into the same category, and so Miyoko was called every stereotypical name you can imagine. She was friendless, yet strangers felt free to come up and touch her. One girl touched her hair and told her that it felt like horsehair. One Halloween, Miyoko got a blonde wig and rushed into the bathroom to try it on. Living in America had made her ashamed of being Japanese, ashamed of being Asian. In her early school days, Miyoko's mother hadn't mastered the art of sandwich making, so she sent her daughter to school with Japanese food. People made fun of the rice balls in her lunchbox. In high school in the 1970s, one of Miyoko's friends asked how it felt being a third world person. She was shocked and had no idea how to react or even feel about it. After college, Miyoko felt compelled to move back to Japan. She wanted to rediscover her roots and answer the questions, who am I? And who would I have been if I'd never left Japan? Staying with relatives, she quickly learned that her village had been swallowed up in Tokyo's growth in the years since she'd left. It was the 1980s, and the French cooking revolution had taken hold of Japan. While Americans were still chowing down on Kraft cheese slices and mass-produced cupcakes, Japan was savoring French bakery delicacies. Miyoko, a vegetarian since the age of 12, couldn't get enough of the cream-filled pastries they offered. When Miyoko's family lived in post-World War II Japan, they didn't eat much meat because Japan had yet to become a wealthy country. Once in the U.S., her American father was concerned about her getting enough nutrients, so she started eating a lot of meat. Feeding her lots of meat was one of the ways her parents showed her love. After a 3-day school camping trip where she was placed in a vegetarian group, Miyoko came home and became a vegetarian the very first night after her mother served her a pork chop. All she could see was a pig. After several months of cooking separate meals for her daughter, Miyoko's mother told her she'd have to prepare her own meals from then on. She thought that of course her 12-year-old child, who did not know how to cook, would feel defeated and immediately go back to eating meat. She was so Wrong.
Miyoko rose to the challenge, learned how to cook, and loved the journey. Becoming a vegan took much more convincing.
After all, Miyoko loved dairy.
Especially fancy cheeses, butter, and cream. Those made up most of her diet in her early days back in Japan, where rich, creamy French pastries were all the rage. Soon, she experienced constant stomach discomfort. She decided to give up dairy entirely after a friend suggested the stomach discomfort could be related to all the dairy she was eating, and her own personal research confirmed what her friend shared. With her health back on track, Miyoko could get back to rediscovering her roots and deciding who she wanted to be as a grown adult.
The only problem was dairy was in all the foods she loved.
Especially desserts. Never one to shy away from a challenge, she started a new business in Japan. A small bakery that made vegan pound cakes that captured the rich flavors of Miyoko's favorite French desserts. Soon she found herself on a train 3 days a week, wearing a knapsack loaded with 70 Madame Miyoko's pound cakes she delivered all over Tokyo. During the rest of the week, she balanced work as an English teacher, jazz singer, hostess of 10-course vegan tasting evenings, menu design for restaurants, department store cooking demonstrations, and consulting for a natural food distributor. As Madame Miyoko's was growing, an investor with great connections expressed interest in backing her new business. Miyoko thought, "How lucky am I?" When it came time to sign the contract, she was shocked to see that the investor wanted 50% of Madame Miyoko's, plus 50% of her jazz singing gigs, her vegan hostessing work, her menu design jobs, the department store demo pay, her natural food consulting work, and 50% of a cookbook she hadn't even finished.
This felt horribly excessive and unfair.
So, of course, she backed out of signing the contract, and that's when all the trouble began. Late-night phone calls with gruff, threatening voices on the other end, people banging on her door at 3 in the morning, broken employment contract at the culinary school where she worked.
And they topped it off with a promise that she would never work again in Japan.
It turns out this angel investor was part of the Japanese mafia. Fearing for her life, she made her way back to the U.S. with a new determination to build a vegan business. Her 9 years as a grown adult back in Japan not only helped her rediscover her family roots, the exploration unleashed a deep passion for the entrepreneurial life she'd witnessed growing up.
In true entrepreneurial fashion, Miyoko does business after business after business.
Similar to the legend of Thomas Edison inventing the light bulb, having tried 10,000 times till he got it right.
In 2014, she got it right and birthed Miyoko's Creamery,